You call that a draft? Really, Triple H? You call what happened today a draft? Shaking up the rosters? You call that shaking things up? The moment they protected the champions from being drafted, I had a feeling this draft was not going to go well. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, it's just the first night, man. Night 2 could be better. Well, night 2 better be better. I'm going to tell you that right now. Because if night 2 does not deliver, then this draft was a failure. So this draft had a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people changing. 5 people. And then there was 2 more in the supplement draft picks. So that's technically 7 people that changed shows, and most of the other people stayed where they are. I'm not going to talk about majority of the show because I don't really enjoy the show. I pay attention when it's the draft events. I pay more attention to the draft than the actual show itself. But anyway, here are the draft picks. Roman Reigns withdrew himself from the draft because Paul Heyman said so. He voluntarily withdrew himself from the draft, so therefore he was not eligible. Because Roman Reigns was obviously going to be first picked if Roman Reigns didn't withdraw. So, the draft happens, and the first pick is Bianca Belair to SmackDown. A woman that was on SmackDown is now staying on SmackDown. She was the first overall draft pick for SmackDown, and this is the biggest issue that I had with this lineup of superstars that were in the draft. There were barely any noticeable big names other than Randy Orton, LA Knight, Bloodline, Sheamus, AJ, Seth. There were barely any big names. If they had some of the Night 2, if they had some of the other Night 2 people, Kevin Owens, Jade Cargill, Imperium, some actual big names, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk. If they had a lot of the bigger names on Night 1, it probably would have been better, but Night 1, man, barely had any big names. So Bianca's staying on SmackDown. So that means the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley are also going to be staying on SmackDown because they're not going to be separating couples. Monday Night Raw's first pick was main event Jey Uso. Caught me off by that. I wouldn't say this one surprised me. It just made me think, okay, maybe the Bloodline are going to go to Raw. It kind of made me think, okay, definitely the Bloodline are going to go to Raw now. Because Roman Reigns not being eligible will make them make the Bloodline go to Raw or something. And then the first official brand switch was Carmelo Hayes from NXT to SmackDown. Now, I've never been the biggest Carmelo guy. I've never been the biggest fan of him, but I knew he was ready for the main roster. I think Carmelo was probably by far the most predictable name to come out of NXT. I think out of everybody there, he, Ilya Dragunov, and Roxanne are 3 of the most predictable names to come out of NXT, if I'm being completely honest. I was definitely surprised to see that Cora Jade was sitting there watching the draft, despite her being injured. And then the fourth pick of the first round was Seth Rollins to Raw. So there you go, only one person changed brands on the first round. The second round, first pick of the second round, Randy Orton stayed on SmackDown. Now, to me, this makes a lot of sense, because Randy Orton's going to have a big program with Cody Rhodes. And if you're going to say, and if anyone tells me moving Randy Orton to Raw to possibly fight Gunther, Sami Zayn, and Damian Priest, and maybe members of the Judgment Day is better than him having a feud with Cody Rhodes, then you are completely full of yourself. Besides, Night 2 hasn't happened yet. Gunther, Judgment Day could all end up on SmackDown anyway. Because remember, we got the second night of the draft coming up. Like, we could get CM Punk. CM Punk could end up on SmackDown. Bronson Reed could end up on SmackDown. Drew McIntyre. Judgment Day. You know? Shinsuke Nakamura. You know, SmackDown could actually get some big names. So Randy Orton being on SmackDown makes sense. Because he's going to have that big eventual match with, he's going to get that big match with Cody Rhodes. He's going to get that big match with Cody Rhodes. Now, here's the thing. I've been complaining now I know some of you are going to be calling me, I'm a hypocrite. Because I've been complaining a lot about how people weren't changing brands. But probably one of the brand changes I do not agree with here is Bron Breakker. Remember when Bron Breakker started the free agent angle where they were building him up as a Series 3 free agent, where Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis were doing everything they can to sign him to their show? They did all that, and they did it with Jade Cargill too. And they better not move Jade Cargill to Raw. But it just makes no sense to me. It's so bizarrely weird. It's so bizarrely weird. Like, you go through all this effort to make Bron Breakker seem like a big deal, and it wasn't too long ago that he just signed with SmackDown, like literally maybe a month ago or something. And then you immediately move him to Monday Night Raw? Like, why not just make him a Monday Night Raw guy then? Why not just make him a Monday Night Raw superstar if you're gonna put him on Raw? Like, sure, Bron Breakker may have a better chance at winning singles gold if he's on Raw, but to me, it just felt like a complete waste of time. It felt like it was a complete waste of time of just having Bron Breakker and Nick Aldis sign Bron Breakker to a SmackDown contract only for him to go over to Monday Night Raw. It felt like all that build-up of trying to make him feel like a big deal meant nothing in the end. And that's my complaint about all of this. That's my big complaint here. You make it look like he's a big deal, and then you just have him go to Raw anyway, But hey, I've been nitpicky about superstars not changing brands, and here I am complaining about a superstar changing brands. But here's a superstar changing brand I am actually happy with. Nia Jax. She's now on the SmackDown roster. Now, if you guys have been watching my predictions, you know I said Nia Jax has to move to SmackDown because she's never been on SmackDown. And finally, my wish has been granted. Nia Jax, the Irresistible Force, is on SmackDown. Now, if Naomi stays on SmackDown, I kind of like to see a Nia Jax match. And maybe several of other matches. You know, gives Nia new, fresh opponents. And I think that's the best thing that they could have done here. And Liv Morgan stays on Monday Night Raw. Now, this just makes a lot of sense. I didn't really see Liv changing. Some people were thinking Liv Morgan could have changed to SmackDown. I didn't see it. I didn't think that made any sense. And now we get to one of the first instances of where someone should have changed. LA Knight, yeah, stays on SmackDown. This one I do not agree with. Don't agree with this one. This one should have been LA Knight to Monday Night Raw. What, they could have easily saved Liv Morgan for round 3 here. They could have easily saved Liv Morgan for round 3. You could have just put LA Knight in Liv Morgan's spot, and then you could have had the Bloodline take LA Knight's spot and all that. You could have easily done something like that. But no, LA Knight stays on SmackDown, and I think the only reason he's staying on SmackDown is because they might eventually do him versus Logan Paul for the US Championship, probably. Ricochet staying on Monday Night Raw again. Look, this one only made sense because of Samantha Irvin. Ricochet was not going to be leaving the same show as Samantha Irvin. The Bloodline, for a 4th year in a row, are on SmackDown. You could have really done something. You could have really changed the Bloodline here, man. You could have really just moved them to Raw. And now the whole Bloodline Civil War thing that they're going to start doing, they're going to do it again. They're going to break the rules of the draft. It is official. This draft means nothing, because Jey Uso is going to start appearing on SmackDown to defend his brother Jimmy when he eventually comes back. It's official. This draft is pointless. To me, this draft means absolutely nothing. Now, yes, some of you are saying, but remember, now I know a lot of you are going to be saying, remember, the official rules state that these brands are not official until after Backlash. Are you saying Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis are going to do some trades? Now, trading isn't bad, but are you trying to say that there's going to be time to do trades? Are you saying they're going to trade the Bloodline to Monday Night Raw before Backlash? I just don't see it. I just don't see them doing any trades. They're just going to announce the brands, leave it as it is, and then break the rules. Because that's what they do best. That's what they do best. They break the rules. You can't do a brand split without actually officially splitting the brands. You can't do an actual brand split when you split the actual brands. You have to be like, oh, we got to do this certain story, or we got to do this, so we kind of have to break the rules here so we can do a certain story. Look, it's not hard to just have people on different shows. Unless they surprise us and move Roman Reigns to Raw as like he's gonna be like, oh, they're gonna move him to Raw, then when he eventually comes back, but he's gonna be a free agent. But hey, we'll see what happens. But honestly, I wasn't very pleased about the Bloodline being stuck on SmackDown for another year. Sheamus goes from SmackDown to Monday Night Raw. This kind of counts. This technically counts as a brand change, because he was previously on SmackDown before he came back. Yes, he was appearing on Raw. Yes, he was appearing on Raw when he came back. So people may look at it as, well, he was actually on Raw when he came back. Which is true, fair enough, you can think that as well. But he was on SmackDown before he came back. So this technically counts as a brand change. The fourth and final round, AJ Styles stays on SmackDown. This one, I guess this one I'm okay with, because you can't have AJ Styles drafted to Raw and then be like, well, he could bring the Undisputed Championship to Monday Night Raw, even though that would be fun, but I think it'd be kind of obvious that Cody is going to win here. Alpha Academy stay on Raw because, yeah, Chad Gable's in a feud with Sami Zayn, so that just makes a lot of sense. Despite me complaining about some people changing shows, some of them I understand, like Alpha Academy, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, Ricochet, Liv Morgan. Those I understand. Those I understand. But majority of the others, I don't understand. Andrade is drafted to SmackDown, so that means when Charlotte Flair comes back, she's going to be on SmackDown. Now Charlotte is obviously out injured. But Andrade going to SmackDown, I guess I didn't, like, the reason why I didn't believe Andrade was going to go to SmackDown is because I was like, well, I had the same mindset of what happened with Bron Breakker. I'm like, well, he just came to Raw. Like, he just came to Raw, so what would be the point of moving him to another show? Because, just like with Bron Breakker, Raw just signed him to a contract. Raw just signed him to a contract. What would be the point of moving him to the opposing show? I'm like, well, I guess there is a point. I guess there is a point. So Andrade is now on SmackDown, and the final person drafted was an NXT superstar that I did not see coming at all. Kiana James from NXT is drafted to Monday Night Raw. Out of all the girls for them to call up, Gigi Dolan, Blair Davenport, JC Jane, Kiana James? Over Gigi? JC? Blair? Thea Hale? And Chase University? I'm not going to say Roxanne, because in my personal opinion, she should be staying on NXT, because she's the champion. Lyra Valkyria? Look, I don't watch a lot of NXT, but I have seen Kiana James. Hell, even Fallon Henley. Look, I don't watch NXT as often, but I have seen what Kiana's like, and personally, I'm not the biggest fan of her. I don't think she's that great. I don't think she's great. I think she's a bit of an average wrestler. I think she's pretty average, but really? Over Fallon Henley, Thea Hale, JC Jane, Gigi Dolan, Blair Davenport, and Lyra Valkyria, who are actually talentedly good wrestlers? Well, Triple H apparently sees better talent than me, apparently. So that is the end of the draft. That was the televised draft. Very, very bad. Very bad. So now, let's talk about the supplement draft picks, who were drafted off camera. These were draft selections that were revealed on WWE social media platforms after SmackDown went off the air. So instead of doing it on Raw Talk or SmackDown Lowdown like they used to, you had to be on social media to wait to hear them actually announce these superstar tradings. And oh my god, this is awful. They've been hyping up that NXT was a part of the draft. They've been hyping it up that NXT was a part of the draft. And NXT got no one in return for this. They lost 3 NXT people, and they're going to get no one in return. If NXT doesn't get people in return for Night 2, then saying NXT was involved in the draft is completely pointless. Because I get taking people from NXT because you want to call people up, but if you're going to physically say that NXT is a part of the draft, making it sound like they can actually gain superstars, it really takes away. It really takes it away for me. So who were the supplement draft picks? Well, the unholy union of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn went from SmackDown to Raw. Okay, good start. New change of scenery. Good start. Baron Corbin from NXT to SmackDown. Ugh. Baron Corbin again. So he goes from NXT to SmackDown. And then the rest is exactly the same. Cedric Alexander and Shanti Theodonis, they stay on SmackDown. Ivar stays on Raw. Shayna Baszler stays on Raw. Gallows, Anderson, and Michin stay on SmackDown. And Zoe Stark stay on Raw. A total of Hayes, Breakker, Jax, Sheamus, Andrade, Kiana James, Alba Fire, and Isla Dawn, and Baron Corbin. 8 people changed. 8 people changed. Terrible. Terrible. Triple H better deliver night 2, man. This was a terrible first round. Absolutely terrible. Thank you all for watching. And I'll hit the thumbs up. And I will see you all next time.